The new season of Spy Family is airing right now, and it's pretty good, but man, we've gotta wait like a whole week for every episode, and there just isn't anything else remotely worth watching this season, you know what I mean? I have a suggestion to help fill that Spy Family void in your heart, and it's an anime that is, in my opinion, even better than Spy Family. Let me recommend to you an anime by the name Buddy Daddies. Seeing as you've stayed to hear me out, you may be thinking, how is it similar to Spy Family? Let's take a look at the similarities by first looking at the components of Spy Family. You've got three main characters, Lloyd, Yor, and Anya. Lloyd, a spy, engages in suspicious activities while pretending to be a husband/father. Yor, an assassin, engages in suspicious activities while pretending to be a wife/mother. Anya, a telepath, kinda just gets involved in suspicious activities being the precocious child she is. Now let's look at Buddy Daddies. The main characters are Kazuki, Rei, and Miri. Kazuki, a hitman specializing in infiltration, engages in suspicious activities while being an adopted father. Rei, a hitman specializing in killing the shit out of people, engages in suspicious activities while being an epic gamer. Miri, just a child. You see how these shows are similar, right? Unfortunately, because Buddy Daddies aired slightly after the original Spy Family, a lot of people wrote it off as a bad copy, when it actually improves on a ton of elements. Sure, it didn't come with the budget Spy Family had, but when something needs to look good, it certainly does. Anyway, it's time to talk about why I think it's better. Let's first talk about family. One of the main appeals of Spy Family is the family part, but the Forgers really aren't a family. Like, yeah, they spend time together, but there's more to a family than that. Does it feel like they care for each other? Anya obviously cares for her adopted parents, but do they care back? Yor certainly does care. She's shown a bunch of times trying to improve herself for the sake of Anya or her family. She both wants to help the family, wants to stop her brother from worrying about her, and also doesn't want her cover as an assassin to be blown. But Lloyd doesn't feel the same. In episode 1, he's introduced as taking Anya in for the sake of the job, and in the more recent episodes, he's still only there on a job.
この任務は子供さえいればなんとかなる。本当なら全て一人でこなしたいが、ウェスタリス一のスパイと謳われたこの俺も子供にまでは化けられんからな。緊急案件とはいえ、結局また家族を放り出してしまったな。何言ってる黄昏。家族も任務だろうが。いや、今回は休暇という名の任務であって、任務ではなく。
With the exception of that one time he punched a table when this guy was being a dick to Anya, everything Lloyd does is for his job. Even when the opportunity arises to do something nice for Anya, nope, it's for the job. The same goes for Yor.
まずいぞ。家庭の不和は任務の失敗を意味する。全力で状況の回復に努めねば。
He does something nice for her in hopes that it helps the job. It's just the character he is, which is fine. He delivers on the spy part, but just really doesn't carry his weight when it comes to the family part. If I just wanted to watch spy business, there's plenty other anime that do that, and I'm just more interested in seeing how the family element develops. In Buddy Daddies, the family element does develop. Kazuki and Rei work a business that doesn't lend itself well to a family lifestyle. In addition to that, they both have individual reasons why they don't want to get close to others. Rei hardly even knows what a family is. His dad taught him to kill to survive, and that when the time comes, Rei will inherit the hitman empire his dad built up. He had no control over his own life, and it fucked him up socially. Kazuki, on the other hand, is afraid of making connections. He had a pregnant wife, who he takes responsibility for the death of when one of his jobs went awry. He curses himself over it, and refuses to forget that it was his fault that everything in his life fell apart. Both of these guys are adamantly anti-family. So how do they end up developing such an excellent one? On one assassination job, our boys run into a little girl looking for her dad. They can't casually get rid of the child, so they just roll with it and finish their job by killing this dude. There were two minor mistakes on this job. The first was Kazuki telling the little girl that he was actually her dad to get a better shot at their target, and the second was Rei doming this guy, who happens to be the girl's actual dad. Now the boys have no choice but to deal with this little girl thinking that Kazuki and Rei are her dads. And now we've got the family going. But how does it develop? Well, let's talk about character growth. From here on, I'm basically going to be spoiling the entire anime because I want to look at the progression of the characters, so just go watch the show. It's not that long. The first couple of episodes of Buddy Daddies covers Kazuki trying to return Miri to her mom, because Rei doesn't give a shit, and Kazuki knows that their job doesn't allow a family, let alone children. After tracking down her mom with the help of their contractor/informant, Kazuki goes to test the waters. As it turns out, Miri's mom is a singer at a nightclub, is dating some dickhead, and actually loathes her child for taking away her freedom. This is not a family Kazuki can leave a child in, and with memories of his family, he concludes that he simply has to take Miri in. Rei honestly still doesn't care. To him, Miri is just kinda there, taking up space in his apartment. But while Kazuki was scouting, Rei took Miri to the park, and with some weird looks from others, ended up actually pretending to be Miri's dad. Let's quickly check in with how Lloyd is doing in the first couple episodes.
これを見せればより良い孤児院に保護してもらえる。計画は子供に頼らない。別の方法で練り直そう。よし行け。早く。スパイ失格。違う。失態なのはあの子を危険に巻き込んだことだ。
Then begins their real family life. Alright, so as it turns out, having a child makes a job where you have to kill people kinda hard. So Kazuki decides to go find a daycare. This is not as easy as it may seem. Neither he nor Rei have any legal documents showing that Miri is related to them whatsoever, and they also have a job that pays in cash and without any legal forms. But after some forgeries, they do get Miri into a daycare. After a shopping spree to get all the stuff Miri needs, Kazuki sends her off, and he and Rei catch up on all their work. However, despite her excitement, Miri doesn't like daycare. This distresses Kazuki. Obviously he needs her off his back to work, but he also just wants her to be happy. After consultation with the daycare lady, and another shopping spree at what is basically anime Walmart, Kazuki goes in personally to get the kids interacting with Miri to ensure she has friends. Rei still doesn't really care that much. He's got work to do and Kazuki's the one dealing with Miri, so he doesn't really need to get involved. Soon enough, Kazuki realizes that he needs to be more of a parent. Sure, he feeds, clothes, and keeps Miri healthy, but he needs to make sure Miri grows up right, that she's not spoiled and is a functional adult. He finds out that Miri is in a fight in daycare, and sees that this is his chance to teach her discipline, which she completely rejects. She refuses to tell Kazuki anything and starts to insist that Rei take her to daycare instead. In the kerfuffle, Miri forgot her lunch, and it's also the day that they're going to a field trip. Now she's going to starve to death, or something along those lines. So it's up to Kazuki and Rei to deliver the lunch inconspicuously. They end up watching Miri from afar, interacting with the kid she apparently had a fight with, and they seem to have made up. After beating the shit out of a criminal on the loose while being furries, Kazuki and Rei go back home, and Kazuki rethinks his approach to parenting. Perhaps instead of coming out the gate asking Miri what she did wrong, it would have been better to listen what she has to say first, and as it turns out, that it really wasn't even a fight. After some time with this life, Kazuki starts to feel frustrated. He's the one mainly dealing with Miri, and Rei is basically still just a shut-in who leaves the house to murder people every now and then, so all the cooking and cleaning falls on Kazuki as well. He takes some time off and just leaves. Without a goal and without a plan of coming back, Kazuki just wanders the streets. He gets drunk, he parties with some girls, he gambles his money away, and ends up thrown to the trash after a street fight. Despite doing his best to avoid her, Kazuki's sister-in-law Karen finds him. They both talk about Kazuki's past, and Karen convinces Kazuki that even if his wife's death was his fault, his wife loved him and seeing him stuck in the past is not what she would have wanted. Kazuki realizes that it's time to move on. He simply has to keep going forward with the aim to make Miri's life as good as possible. Meanwhile, at the apartment. Don't I need to go to daycare today?
Why is no one here? Wait, is it the weekend?
I'm hungry.
Let's get pizza, I guess.
I don't feel good.
How do I fix a sick kid? Where's our medicine? Medicine for children and adults is different? I guess we go to the hospital. Where's the hospital? What the fuck am I doing? Help me.
After Kazuki's break, Rei realizes how woefully unprepared he is for anything family-related, and both he and Miri start to appreciate Kazuki and what he does more. Rei gets orders from his dad to go kill the shit out of some dude, so he leaves Kazuki and Miri at home. The guy he's ordered to kill is a hitman who attempted to leave the organization with his girlfriend. The organization has already dealt with his girlfriend in secret, so the only business left to take care of is the traitor. As they fight, Rei and the traitor get some words in every now and then, and the traitor tells Rei that he's finally found something he wants to protect and that the hitman life is not for him anymore. Rei eventually wins the fight, but he's left thinking about his own life. Does he have someone he wants to protect? Before having too much time to think, Kazuki shows up to bring Rei home, where he finds that Kazuki and Miri prepared a surprise birthday party for his return, and Rei, seeing how Kazuki and Miri care for him, comes to terms with the fact that he does indeed have someone he wants to protect. It's time for the daycare field day, and Miri plans to win everything like the queen she is. Kazuki and Rei help her train for the day, and when the day comes, Rei secures spots ahead of time to watch Miri compete. Kazuki has no issues cheering Miri on during the race, but Rei has never really done anything of the like before. He desperately wants to support Miri, and eventually builds up the resolve to cheer, which distracts her, causing her to lose the race. Rei takes this as a sign that he's a fuck-up and him trying to help was a mistake. He chooses not to participate in the parent-child race, because he'd only make everything worse, but ends up being dragged in anyway at the scavenger hunt section, where Miri had to get her family, which she considered Rei a part of. They end up winning because, unsurprisingly, a foot race between your average parent and contract killers is not exactly a balanced matchup. They commemorate the occasion with a family photo, and while they leave the daycare, who do they spot but Miri's mom? She tells the guys that she's been dumped by a boyfriend and she's got throat cancer and can't sing, so the only thing she's got left is her daughter, who she's come back to claim to try and start anew. She threatens to expose the guys' jobs, and with their hands tied, they don't really have any choice but to return the child that isn't theirs. Their informant fills them in on some details, being that they weren't the only ones taking pictures during the field day. The organization is aware of the family, and that is against the rules. They take one last day for a family trip, and while riding a Ferris wheel, Kazuki and Rei think to themselves about whether or not they've managed to change since the beginning of the story. After handing Miri off to her mom, the guys go home to their now desolate apartment. Lost and without knowing what to do, they decide to part ways, with Rei going back to his dad to claim the organization left to him. But once he gets there, his dad tells him that he's not ready, because he still has connections to the outside world, showing a picture of him, Kazuki, and Miri hanging out. Rei finds out that a hitman has already been sent to deal with Miri, and he calls Kazuki to let him know what's happening. Kazuki rushes to the apartment with Miri and her mom to find that he's just a bit too late, but he manages to scare off the hitman with the help of Q. They meet up with Rei at Q's safe house, and he and Kazuki figure out what to do next. Kazuki reasons they've killed her dad, and her mom just died because of them, and only trouble can keep coming if Miri stays with them. The only option they have left is to fake her death, drop her off at an orphanage where maybe she'll get a chance to get picked up by someone new, and the organization will never pursue her again. But Rei disagrees. He recognizes that he's done so little for her and Kazuki, and he regrets his lack of effort. As opposed to Kazuki concluding that they fucked everything up so much that they have to give up, Rei believes that they fucked everything up so much that they have no choice but to take responsibility and see to it that Miri can be happy. Rei wants to change, and Kazuki agrees. They decide that they're done being hitmen and are going to lead a safer life for Miri's sake, and the only obstacle left is the organization. As they know, you can't run away from it, but you can run to it, setting the stage for the last episode. Let's check back in with Lloyd after all this time and see how he's doing.
普通親なら買ってやるもんだろう。怪しいやつめ、さてはスパイか。ゲスめ、逮捕だ。
どっちだ。普通の親は買うのか買わんのか。だってこれどう見てもいらんだろう。教育上良くなさそうな気もするし。いやしかし選択を誤れば死の危険が。やっ
ぱいらなくて大丈夫。
The last episode. I will not spoil. Yes, I have basically given you the entire show, but in terms of character growth, the last episode isn't that important. There are still some final notes of growth in the last episode, but we've already reached our climax. Both hitmen are completely different from how they started. If you've watched the show, you already know the final episode is great and filled with small details calling back to events in the show and hype moments. It's literally just a last boss raid leading up to Rei confronting his dad. And if you didn't watch the show but sat through me spoiling it completely, well, I mean, okay, thanks for watching. But why not go watch it, even if just the last episode? The ending is cute, and I love it. Just to be clear, it is an ending, not a, well, I don't know, maybe look out for a part 2 in 3 years to see what happens next. Buddy Daddies is an original anime without a manga or light novel source, so the story has a distinct start and finish. Speaking of the ending, let's get to the end of this video. An interesting world, a good plot, good production quality are all great for a show, but characters are what make a story for me. I mainly talked about Kazuki and Rei, but every other character is fantastically written too. Miri herself is a very realistic child. I can attest to that given I have a sibling younger than me by 13 years. She's cute, curious, and certainly causes problems like a real child. As you might have guessed, I'm a big fan of the characters in Buddy Daddies, both the heroes and the villains. You may think the villain of the story is Rei's dad, and he kind of is, but there's a bigger villain. This mountain of a man is Ogino, another hitman from the organization. Everything about him is off, and he gives uncomfortable feelings starting from his introduction in episode 2, which kinda makes sense, he is a hitman. Ogino is shown to be a big threat, but not necessarily against the main characters. However, when driving Rei to deal with the traitor, Ogino assures him that he is not against the main characters until he's ordered to be against them. He has an obsession with last words of people he's killed, and keeps them in a notebook, even putting relatives next to each other like a graveyard. As a villain, he's always present, but you're not sure what he's going to do. In Spy Family, there is a villain, Donovan Desmond. This guy is the reason Twilight becomes Lloyd, and does his whole operation, but does he ever do anything? You can't really feel his presence, and you forget he's in the show until he's mentioned or comes up in some way. And when he does show up in person, He's just sort of mean to his son. He's the opposite of Ogino in a way. His presence is never felt, and when it is, you know exactly what he's going to do. Nothing. At the end of the day, I lied to you. Buddy Daddies is not better Spy Family. They're both their own shows. Spy Family is more of a comedy slice of life. Everything moves really slowly in terms of plot, characters don't really progress, and logic goes out the window for humor. Buddy Daddies is more of a character drama. There's humor interspersed, and there's action here and there, but it really focuses on the main character's thoughts, feelings, and actions, and how those change over the story.
喧嘩したよな。
何？
いやだから友達のことを叩いたとかどうとかって。喧嘩勝った。
Everything this man says is gold. Also, I do get the irony of calling Spy Family a slice of life during what is literally the most action-packed arc in the story, at least based on how far I read into the manga, but I mean that more on a level where you can just sit down and not think about much while watching. How much does Spy Family really have to say at the end of the day? In Buddy Daddies, when Kazuki first talks to Miri's mom, she drops her frustrations on him. She hardly even wanted to have a kid, and when she did, it took away her freedom. Taking care of a child takes time she wanted to spend achieving her dreams, time she wanted to spend on her own life. Kazuki argues that parenting involves taking joy in your kid's joy. Wanting to help them with anything should be natural, and that giving up part of your life to help build theirs is what makes you value them and eventually them to value you. These are both very valid views, certainly something anyone thinking about having a kid would consider. Here's what Spy Family has to say about parenting.
言葉にできません。察してあげましょう。尋問してはダメなのか。世の親たちはこんな高難度ミッションをこなしているのか。
It's not to say that Spy Family is bad. I just prefer character dramas, or something that might make me think. I just wanted to get it out that Buddy Daddies is not the rip-off many people wrote it off as when it came out. I'd even say it's one of the most underrated and underwatched modern-era anime. Give it a shot if you're looking for something good. It opens on a Christmas episode after all, and wouldn't you know, we're in December now. Also, the opening to Buddy Daddies blows every one of Spy Family's openings out of the water, and it's not even close, fight me.